Married for 3 years. Michael had never touched me. Wearing a lace nightgown. I faked hickeys and sent him a photo of myself sleeping, shot from the angle of a so-called third party. Bro. She smells amazing. Hurry up and divorce her. Let me have her. Will you? I figured Michael would be disgusted and furious when he got the anonymous message, would toss me aside like trash. The stand-in for his beloved sister. I thought. Finally. I could divorce him this time. Chapter 1. My sister was vacationing in Europe, celebrating her 3rd wedding anniversary. She asked me what gift I wanted. I asked for an unregistered international SIM card. Clutching the card in an empty hotel room, I exhaled slowly, exhaustion washing over me. Then I put on the lace, sheer nightgown I had bought specifically for this plan. In front of the mirror, I painted faint, passionate marks on my collarbone and neck. The hickeys dotted my skin like I'd just been ravished. Desire made flesh, possessive and wild. One strap of the nightgown was torn, as if a man had yanked it off in the heat of the moment. Finally, I looked in the mirror and smudged the lipstick on my lips until it blurred like the aftermath of a kiss. Then I sat on the bed and ruffled the other side, mimicking the trace of another body having slept there. I closed my eyes. The camera clicked on timer mode, angled to look like it had been taken by someone else. 3, 2, 1. The woman in the photo seemed to have just been through a night of intimacy, now sleeping deeply, completely unguarded. I stared at it for a long time. My mind drifted to Michael's infamous reputation in the business world. A smiling predator, a capitalist who devoured people without spitting out their bones. What I knew best, though, was that ever-cold, emotionless face of his. Beautiful, yes, but all his affection belonged to my sister. I prepared for the worst. Even if Michael felt nothing for me, no man could endure betrayal from a woman, even if he never touched her. He'd probably take revenge, but eventually, he'd be disgusted and angry enough to throw me away, to finally divorce me. That's all I wanted. Divorce. I closed my eyes and hit send. On the screen, the careless message blinked back at me. Bro. She smells amazing. Hurry up and divorce her. Let me have her. Will you? With the photo attached. Message sent. Chapter 2. Not even 2 seconds passed. I got a reply. Michael, who are you? I slowly changed out of the lace nightgown, deliberately dragging out the time before replying, almost sadistically enjoying it. Was he losing his mind right now? Ready to tear this anonymous sender apart? The golden boy, flawless since birth, always in control, now having his emotions toyed with by me. The woman he's kept in the palm of his hand for 3 years. After so long in silence and pain, this moment finally gave me a twisted sense of satisfaction. Once I changed into my normal clothes, 2 more messages came in from Michael. Don't use this pathetic deepfake AI face swap. Just tell me what you want. Say everything clearly yourself. Maybe I'll let you die with a full corpse. I let out a dry chuckle. Mr. Song, if you really want to know whether it's AI, why not ask your wife yourself? The hickeys on my baby's neck don't fade that easily. I dared say that because I knew Michael Song was currently overseas, negotiating a major business deal. He wouldn't be back for at least half a month. But then, suddenly, my own phone rang. I flinched. The ringtone blared through the room. Michael's name on the screen. I pressed my lips together and stared at it until it stopped ringing. But the screen lit up again. Another call. Michael wasn't letting up. That's when I realized, this time, he was really pissed. My heart pounded like crazy. I felt like I was walking a tightrope, playing a game that could destroy me. I typed back. Mr. Song, stop calling. We did it 5 times. Your wife's passed out from exhaustion. The calls finally stopped. My phone fell into a dead silence. Then, using the anonymous SIM card, I sent another message. I never meant to break you 2 up. Mr. Song, your wife and I truly love each other. Please, be the bigger person. Divorce her and let her go. If word gets out you've been cheated on, your reputation will take a hit too. Michael never replied again. Uneasy, I tossed the torn lace gown into the trash, checked out of the hotel, and went back to the villa. The housekeepers were cleaning like usual. Everything looked normal, calm, like nothing had ever happened. I washed up and went to bed. At dawn, just as the sky started to lighten, I was half asleep when I heard the roar of an engine outside, followed by the screech of tires and a sudden air brake. By the time I sat up in panic, the bedroom door was already being knocked on. "Caro, open the door." The voice was low and cold, clearly forced into a calm tone, but there was a thin thread of agitation barely held in check. I woke up completely, as if a bucket of ice water had been dumped over my head. Cold spread through me. It was Michael. Chapter 3. Panic seized me. How could he be back? To him, I was nothing but a worthless stand-in. The knock came again, 3 taps. Just like before. Controlled. Too controlled. His voice came through. A little faster this time. "Caro, I want to see you." I sat up. I couldn't panic, couldn't slip. Taking a deep breath, I feigned grogginess and forced myself to sound calm. "Mr. Song, I need to use the bathroom and take a shower. Please wait." I rushed into the bathroom, turned on the shower, and stared hard at the hickeys on my neck. They were marks I'd made myself, with a bottle cap. I hadn't held back either. They looked real. Too real. Not even foundation could cover them completely. But cover them I must. Because anyone who cheats, or pretends to, their first instinct is to lie. To hide. Michael was a human lie detector. If I was going to act, I had to play the full part. I wet my hair to make it look freshly showered. Changed into a black high-necked dress. Long sleeves and all. The visible hickey near my collarbone, I covered it with a band-aid. In front of the mirror, I practiced a guilty but calm expression. Disgusting enough, I thought. Surely this would make Michael loathe me. Surely he'd want a divorce and kick me out. I opened the door. Michael sat on the sofa. Eyes closed. Brow furrowed. His face was pale. His jaw shadowed with stubble. He had forgotten his watch. His usual cufflinks were missing. One hand gripped his phone tightly. The other hung over the armrest, 4 deep gashes across his knuckles. As if he'd hit something hard, repeatedly. He didn't even bother to bandage them. "Mr. Song, why are you back?" Michael opened his eyes, and his pupils were so dark they looked like ink. He pushed himself up from the sofa. The urgency from earlier had vanished. He walked toward me slowly, deliberately, instinctively. I stepped back, but he grabbed my arm and pulled me close. His eyes dropped to my neck. His pupils contracted. I forced a smile. "Is something wrong?" He didn't answer. He lifted his hand, 2 fingers hovering right over the band-aid, not yanking it off yet. Just poised, as if ready to rip away not just the tape, but every lie, every facade. And with it, the farce of our marriage. I started shaking, shut my eyes, waiting to be exposed. But instead, his fingers merely rested lightly on the band-aid. He asked calmly, "How did you get this?" I looked away on purpose. I accidentally scratched myself with a page from a book. "A book," Michael blinked. Slowly. "What were you doing last night?" His fingers slipped under my collar. Just a tug, and he'd see the marks beneath. I swallowed. I went out to get a hair treatment. Michael's breathing deepened. He stared at me expressionlessly. In that moment, I had the terrifying illusion he might actually eat me alive. His fingers clenched around my collar. Pulling me forward, I nearly fell into his arms. I threw out an arm in reflex, pushing against his chest. His other hand wrapped around my waist, gripping like a vice, tightening inch by inch, like that was how he was keeping himself from exploding. I couldn't fight him. My arms started going limp. Michael leaned in, closer and closer. "Mr. Song, don't," I stammered. I didn't know what he was going to do, but something told me it wouldn't be good. My mind blanked. I was trembling, rambling. "I'm scared. Please. Don't touch me. I'm begging you." A few seconds passed. Then, unbelievably, he pulled away, slowly, fingers curling into a tight fist. His face turned ashen, lips pressed into a hard line. It was only then I realized what I'd just said. "I'm scared. Please don't touch me. I'm begging you." Michael spoke, his tone cold and distant. "I'll assign you 2 personal bodyguards. From now on, they'll accompany you whenever you leave the house to ensure your safety." Then, without hesitation, he turned and walked away. Only when I heard the familiar engine roar to life outside did I snap out of the daze. He wasn't going to pursue it? How could that be possible? Chapter 4. I was being closely watched, barely any chance to pull out that phone and contact anyone, though Michael was overseas. For some reason, this time he cut his trip short. It took him only 5 days to finish a deal that should have lasted weeks. After his return, the surveillance around me loosened slightly. I finally got the chance to pick up the burner phone again, using the anonymous SIM card. I sent another message. Bro, what's your deal? So she cheated, get a divorce. Simple as that. Why lock her up? Michael replied almost instantly. She didn't cheat. I believe her. Caro's not the kind of person who would do that. I stared blankly at the message. What did he mean? Yes. I hadn't really gone through with cheating, couldn't bring myself to do it. So I came up with that elaborate plan. But how would Michael know what kind of person I was? He had always been cold, distant, detached. I couldn't help it. I struck the match again, fanning the flames. Mr. Song, don't pretend you know your wife better than I do. She has 3 beauty marks, one by her ribs, one near her belly button, and one, well, whenever I connect the dots with my fingers and trace downward, she trembles uncontrollably. But you're her husband, married for 3 years, you already knew that, didn't you? That last line was pure mockery, because in all those 3 years, Michael had never touched me. Bang! Just as I hit send, a loud crash echoed from upstairs. It came from Michael's study. I flinched, quickly hiding the backup phone. More crashing followed. Then I heard him come down the stairs, tiredly instructing the butler. Get someone to clean it up. The computer needs to be replaced. His footsteps approached. I trembled. For a moment, I truly thought I'd be next, shattered like that laptop. I panicked and dove into bed, pretending to sleep. Ever since Michael came back, the lock on my door had mysteriously stopped working. He turned the handle quietly. The room was dark, he said nothing, but I could hear his ragged breathing. His pounding heart echoed in the silence, so loud I almost wondered if he could hear mine too. He stepped closer and closer. I squeezed my eyes shut, but Michael didn't shake me awake, didn't grab me by the throat and demand answers. He just stood by my bed, even with my eyes closed. I could feel his gaze, sharp, searing, burning a hole into my lower abdomen, as if he was contemplating whether or not to confirm something. Don't move. Keep breathing steady. Stay in character. I stayed completely still. Then I felt the mattress sink. Michael lay down beside me, slowly. That scorching stare still pierced into me. I gritted my teeth. No turning back now. If you want the tiger's cub, you have to walk into the den. I twisted in my sleep, dreamlike, and burrowed my head into his chest. Michael froze. His scorching gaze softened for a moment. Hubby, I murmured. He tensed up immediately, but I clung tighter, wrapping my arms around him, and in the sweetest, most syrupy voice I'd ever mustered, said, Hubby, hug me. I thought he'd get mad, maybe even hit me, because I'd never called him that before. He knew I was calling someone else, but instead, he stared at me, trembling with rage, fingers digging into my arm. But then I whimpered, and he forced himself to let go. Michael cradled the back of my head, pulling me into a tighter embrace. He kissed my hair, then gently, awkwardly, began stroking my back up and down, again and again, like a clumsy lullaby. He whispered, Hubby's got you. I froze. His eerie calmness was downright deranged. Michael was a brilliant man. He should have figured it out the moment he received the messages. He should have drafted divorce papers, kicked me out, kept his image intact. Instead, he denied it again and again in the most obsessive, irrational way, refusing to believe I'd slept with anyone else. And now, he was claiming the words I'd meant for another as if they belonged to him. What was he even doing? He thought I'd fallen asleep. Silently, he lifted the blanket, then placed a fingertip on my ribs, tracing downward, exactly as I'd described. A single touch. Cool, feather-light, too fast. Before I could process it, my body jolted violently. I couldn't control it. I was shaking all over. The text had been a bluff. I hadn't even known that would happen. And now, I was breaking character, trembling, panicked, completely exposed. I tried to turn away, to escape. Michael stopped, then wrapped his arms around me, fully, forcing me to face him, press against him. His grip was firm, unyielding, like a lock snapping shut, so tight I could feel the erratic thump of his heartbeat against my chest. Wild, chaotic, alive. He whispered, "You are mine, and I am yours." He'd gone mad. All reason, all logic, all calculation, gone. He wasn't acting like a man anymore. He'd become a beast. Ruthless, direct, possessive, like he'd dragged me into his lair. And now I belonged to him. Michael had objectified me, and himself. We weren't fragile humans with soft hearts anymore. We were two pieces of cold iron. Click, locked together. And somehow, that meant we belonged to each other. He was truly insane. I opened my eyes in the darkness, watched his sleeping face as I lay trapped between his chest and his arms, until exhaustion pulled me under, and I dreamed of 3 years ago, me crying, begging Michael to let me go. He looked at me coldly, until I screamed, "I don't owe you anything. You have no right to keep me." Only then did he step back, silent for a full minute, then said, "You do owe me. Your sister ran away and ruined the engagement. So now, for the rest of your life, you'll repay the debt. I won't let you go." I collapsed to the ground that day, touching the face that looked so much like hers. I finally understood he would never let me go, because he saw me as her substitute. 3 years passed like that, suffocating and bitter. When I opened my eyes again, Michael was gone. The space beside me on the bed was smooth and clean, like no one had ever been there. Chapter 5. I received a message from Michael. "Do you have any more photos or videos of her?" I replied instantly, "Bro, I'm a flirt, not a creep. I don't take nudes of women." "Is that how you sweet-talked your way into her heart?" "She's so young. You're disgusting." I blinked, baffled by the insult. "We're in love, for real." "Young? I'm 23. Thank you very much, nearly done with my master's degree." "Michael, leave her. Just name your price." That pissed me off. "I already told you. Bro, this is real love. How about you leave her, and I'll pay you?" "Michael, you're not worthy of her love." That really got under my skin. "Excuse me?" Even gender-swapped me is top tier. I went all in, risking everything. I found a photo online, one with killer abs, and another of a different, impressive area. Sent both. "I've got the goods. Don't worry, your wife's well satisfied." This time, I didn't hear anything breaking, but a second later, sitting in the living room, Michael let out a sudden, cold, mocking chuckle. "Heh, not big enough?" Sure, I haven't seen the real deal, but by online standards, it looked pretty decent. So what the hell was he laughing at? Then another message came in, and when I read it, my blood turned cold. "On the 27th last month, you, or someone on your behalf, went to Barcelona and bought a prepaid SIM card. Didn't you? Michael, did you really think using an unregistered SIM would stop me from finding out who you are? Asterisk, I'll track it down, one thread at a time. Carefully. Like peeling your skin off. If you went to Barcelona yourself, fine. If you had someone buy it and mail it back, I'll find that address. Better start sleeping with your eyes open. Brother. That brother, pure venom." I shot back. "I will sleep with my eyes open just to get a few more looks at your wife." Crash. Outside the room, another cup shattered. "Michael, she's just playing with you." I gritted my teeth. "Really? Then maybe take a good look at your wife lately." I shut off the phone, and just like that, I cooled down. Changes. What kind of changes do women show when they're seeing someone else? I started working out. Every morning, I'd spend 40 minutes on weights, then 15 minutes on cardio. Barely 2 days in, the butler came to me, looking uncomfortable. "The gym's out of order, miss." "That's okay," I said. "I'll use whatever machines still work. All of them are broken. The door too, it won't open." "Fine." I laid out my yoga mat in the living room and started doing aerobics. And of course, Michael, who had been working from home more lately, just had to be seated on the sofa in the same room. He was staring at his laptop when, out of nowhere, he asked, "Why are you working out all of a sudden?" Perfect setup. I looked away. I'm still not slim enough. The fitness trainer on the TV bent down to touch her toes and stretch. I followed along. Michael's Adam's apple bobbed slightly. His voice was a little hoarse. "You're already slim." I panted. "I want abs. Abs are beautiful." He shot back instantly. "Who told you that?" I froze. I don't know why, but I hesitated. This was supposed to be the perfect opportunity to blow the whole thing wide open. Wasn't this what I'd wanted all along? And yet, I suddenly felt like I was hiding something real, like I actually had cheated. I made excuses to myself. Maybe it's just because the atmosphere right now, it was too good. Too good to be us. Michael and I were usually distant, always rushing. He worked. I endured. We never sat in the same space, doing our own things, occasionally exchanging words like a real couple. I was still tangled in that feeling when Michael abruptly gave up the question. "Forget it. Doesn't matter." He just let it go. In that moment, I had this strange, surreal sensation, as if the two of us were silently, carefully maintaining a fragile thread, a red string, spun from paper, looped around our wrists. But minutes later, I went to the bedroom to change and saw the message Michael had just sent. Still calm, still seated on the sofa. At some point when I turned away, his fingers had moved. He had sent a final text. "You sick bastard. I want you dead." Chapter 6. The TV broke. Well, everything else worked. Just not the fitness videos. The butler informed me, visibly uncomfortable, and starting at 8 a.m. every day. He vacuumed the entire house, meaning I couldn't work out in the living room anymore either. I took a deep breath and began learning how to bake. The butler, curious, asked why. I smiled and said, "It's a wonderful feeling, watching someone eat something you made with your own hands." At the top of the stairs, Michael stood silently, his face cold and unreadable. His head followed my every movement, back and forth between the island counter and the oven. The burnt cookies? I ate those myself. I gave 2 decent ones to the curious butler. The rest, I packed carefully into a paper bag, tied with a ribbon. Homemade baked goods? That should be a clear enough sign that I was seriously seeing someone, that I cared. Back in my room, I got dressed. "Mr. Song, I have a group meeting today. I'll be heading out for a while." Michael was leaning against the kitchen island, staring at the empty baking tray with a blank expression. He looked up at me. Was this it? Was he finally going to snap? Demand a divorce? My heart practically lodged itself in my throat. But instead, he merely raised an eyebrow and gave a wicked, lazy smirk. "Sure, go ahead." Then turned and left. I walked over and froze. The cookie bag I had placed on the table was gone. Even the leftover burnt ones, all gone. Michael, he threw them away? Those cookies were meant for my professor, my lab partners. He trashed them all? I was so angry I couldn't even speak. Fuming, I fired off a string of texts behind his back. "Your wife says you've been lashing out at home a lot lately. She's scared. She cries at night. Says she misses me terribly. Mr. Song, why haven't you divorced her yet? What's the point of all this clinging and dragging things out? Is winning really that important to you? She doesn't owe you anything. Your marriage was a transactional alliance. Nothing more. You already got what you wanted. Why won't you let her go?" "Michael," she cried. I stared at the message, speechless. "That's the part you focus on? The point is divorce, not the tears." Then a second message came in. "You live in District C too?" My blood ran cold. How did he find out? Before I could deny it, he followed up. "I'm getting closer to you, you filthy, dog-like degenerate." I slammed my phone shut. Sweat broke out all over my back. Time was running out. I couldn't keep playing it safe, poking at him through layers of gauze. I had to go all in. This was it, the final gamble. Chapter 7. My hands trembled as I clutched the divorce papers I had drafted myself, slipping them into my shoulder bag. Then I put on the shortest skirt I owned. High heels. Did my makeup. Sprayed on perfume, then pushed open the door. "I'm going out." Michael looked at me in silence. It felt like the first time in days that we had looked at each other this long. This intently. The warm lighting from the living room cast a shadow across his sharp cheekbones. He looked thinner. His eyes were bloodshot, like someone slowly burning away, candle wax melting under an invisible flame. Tense, alert, exhausted, and hauntingly beautiful. How long had he been sitting there like that? "Where are you going?" he asked calmly. "To a friend's place." "Which friend?" His gaze dropped to my too short skirt, darkening. "You don't know them." He smiled, a silent, mocking smile that wrinkled the corners of his eyes. "Tell me, who knows? Maybe I do know them." "Mr. Song," I said, keeping my tone steady. "Our marriage was always just a transaction. You promised, no interfering in each other's personal lives." He stood slowly, all 189 centimeters of him, broad shoulders, narrow waist, a natural-born model. That's when I realized he wasn't in a suit today. He wore a fitted black sweater, the fabric pulled taut across his chest. He lowered his eyes and calmly removed his blue light glasses, tossing them onto the sofa. "Go on, Caro," he said, voice low. "Let's see how many more sharp little daggers you've got for me." I stepped back, shaking, but forced the words out anyway. "Also, I don't owe you anything. My sister's back in the country. If she knew how you've been treating me, she'd never want anything to do with you." That hit a nerve. Michael's brow twitched, quickly, almost imperceptibly. "What?" I swallowed. "I'm leaving. Not just leaving, I'm divorcing you." I didn't look back. I tossed the divorce papers and ran for the door. Finally, the words were out. An end to all the tiptoeing and second-guessing. A rush of freedom flooded me, like finally boarding the roller coaster I'd been waiting in line for forever. But after the rush came fear, nervous, aimless fear. I bolted to the door, hands gripping the handle like a lifeline, swung it open halfway. Bang! The door slammed shut again. Michael had punched it closed. He gripped my hands tightly. "You dare?" His voice wasn't wild. His expression wasn't crazed. In fact, he looked calm, too calm. But his eyes were so dark, so deep, and his breathing was completely out of control. "Mr. Song," I gritted out. "I'm seeing someone. Get a grip." His jaw clenched. I could practically see the veins pulsing at his temples. He was so furious it was like his body couldn't contain it. His knees pressed into mine, pinning me against the door. He could barely stand, but he still wouldn't let go of my hand on the doorknob. He wrapped around me like a serpent, tight, suffocating. That cold, expressionless mouth of his said no curse words, no desperate begging, only repeated, through clenched teeth, "You dare?" I could feel the heat of his chest burning into my back, so hot it hurt, like electricity coursing through my bones. My brain went white. I couldn't even control my own breathing, much less my thoughts. The light was too bright. I couldn't not see his beautiful, ice-cold face, his body pressed so close it was like we were trying to fuse into one. I trembled, forced my voice out. I meant to say something cold, something final, but my voice betrayed me. It softened, cracked. "You don't even love me." Breathless, I whispered, "Michael, please, divorce me. You don't love me. Someone else will." His breathing stopped for a moment. His whole body stiffened. He gritted his teeth like he wanted to speak, but couldn't. And then, slowly, his strength came back. He steadied himself with one hand on the door. I reached for the doorknob again. He lifted me off the ground. "What are you doing?" I struggled, panicked, expressionless. Michael let me kick and thrash, then crushed his mouth against mine. As he walked, he deliberately stepped on the divorce papers. "Divorce? Only over my dead body." I burst into tears. "What gives you the right? Why are you being so unreasonable?" Michael carried me straight to the bed. He said, "Because we're married, that means for the rest of our lives. We're bound to each other." I deliberately tried to provoke him. "I like him. I slept with him." The final veil between us was torn away. But instead of the explosion I expected, there was only silence. Michael slowly removed his clothes. His lips were red from my biting, which only made his pale, sharp features look even colder, even more devastating. The lines of his body, flawless, sculpted, were more breathtaking than the photo I'd sent him. He looked down at me. So what? I froze. What? Michael's face was emotionless. You're still young, curious about that kind of thing. It's normal to want to fool around a bit. I stared at him in disbelief. His eyes lowered, and he took off the last of his clothing. My gaze dropped, completely involuntarily. And then I understood why he had laughed at those 2 photos I'd sent. He had every right to be dismissive. Michael took my wrist in his hand. As he leaned down, I caught the scent of his skin, masculine, sharp, intoxicating. No layers of fabric this time. No buttoned up, pristine suits to keep him distant. No cold words. No never-ending work to hide behind. For the first time, I truly realized something that should have been obvious all along. Michael was a man filled with raw, overwhelming possessiveness. I couldn't finish the sentence. My tongue felt numb, my breath caught in my throat. Every nerve in my body was focused on him. He looked at me calmly. Caro, you're just hungry and running away for junk food? That's a childish move. He touched my forehead, gently, but with commanding force, and tilted my head back. Another long, suffocating kiss. I could barely breathe, could barely remember why I'd started all this. Michael's hand slid to my neck, not hard, but just enough to take the air out of my lungs. He looked down at me, completely in control, and whispered, "But if you're willing to leave me for trash, that's not going to happen. You did something wrong, and there has to be punishment." I trembled, my voice shook uncontrollably, like I was under some wicked spell. What kind of punishment? His fingers once again traced over the 3 beauty marks. I shuddered, begged him to stop. Michael stared silently, unmoving. Only when I begged a second time and tears crept into the corners of my eyes did he finally let out a long sigh. As if forgiving all my sins, he kissed me again, deeper this time, and pressed even closer. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. The doorbell rang. Michael acted like he didn't hear it. He wasn't stopping. Moments later, knocking. Caro? It's your sister, Mr. Song. Are you with her? Her voice was worried, urgent. Michael's fingers clenched the bedsheet. He inhaled sharply, his face twisted with something almost terrifying. He closed his eyes, struggling to regain composure. Was it because she was here? The woman he truly loved? I gave a bitter, silent laugh. Strange how pain could return to a heart I thought had long since gone numb. Maybe it was because Michael had been so possessive lately, so intense, that I'd started to have delusions. Delusions that maybe, I wasn't just her replacement. Caro? My sister knocked again, more urgently this time. When no one answered, she started twisting the doorknob. My heart dropped. The lock, it had been broken for weeks. Don't open it. Go wait in the living room. I'll be right there. Michael threw the blanket over me. All right. Chapter 8. I got dressed and sat quietly beside my sister. An odd, lingering sense of guilt pressed down on me. Michael sat alone on the sofa nearby, legs spread, taking up space like a throne. His fingers tapped restlessly on the armrest, and every few seconds he took a deep breath, like he needed the air to keep himself from cracking. Sis, why are you back? I asked. Olivia coughed, as if what she was about to say wasn't easy. She hesitated. Actually, I didn't go on a wedding anniversary trip. I was just traveling alone, to clear my head. What? I blinked, stunned. She stumbled over her words. Michael's fists tightened. Olivia, if you have something to say, just say it. Olivia hesitated. Carolina. I'm actually divorced. I looked at her, and suddenly, I understood why she had come. She placed the divorce agreement, creased and dirty from being stepped on the table. I was unsure for a while. She said, but after seeing this, I think it's time I speak up. Then she turned to Michael. Mr. Song, I was the one who ran away back then. I owed you. I can marry you now, to make it right. But please, let my sister go. My heart skipped a beat. This should have been a good thing. Michael, who had always refused to let me go, faced with the real bride, would surely abandon a mere substitute. And yet, why did I feel like this? I watched the two of them, locked in silent eye contact. I should be happy, right? I lowered my head. hiding all my emotions behind a blank expression. A long silence passed before Michael finally said, "What?" Olivia repeated. "Please divorce my sister." Michael, no. I looked up, completely stunned. His face was blank. Both sisters marrying me one after the other? I'd be a joke. Olivia calmly replied. "I've taken foreign citizenship. My current name is my ex-husband's. As long as I stay out of the spotlight, no one will connect me to Carolina." Michael didn't respond. Olivia gently slid the divorce papers toward him. "Mr. Song, please sign. I owe you. Let me repay the debt. But don't make my sister suffer anymore." Michael's laugh was sharp, bitter, like a man on the verge of snapping. He leaned forward, his expression cold and crazed. "Suffer? How have I made her suffer?" He spat, glaring at Olivia with wild eyes. "Why don't you ask your precious sister who's torturing whom?" His jaw clenched tight, temples pulsing. "Why?" he muttered. "Why does everyone keep pushing us to get divorced?" "Yes, I forced her into this marriage. It's my sin. Whatever she does to me, I accept it. But you, who the hell are you to speak for her?" He bit his lip, stopping himself just short of saying something crueler. "Maybe because she was my sister." Olivia froze, and so did I. Michael seemed to realize he'd said too much. A flicker of something crossed his eyes. Regret? Panic? Before he quickly masked it. But what did he mean? "He forced me into this marriage 3 years ago. It was supposed to be a marriage alliance between the Zhao and Song families. My father admired Michael, a rising star in business, and despite his humble background, arranged for my sister to marry him. But Olivia met a blue-eyed violinist overseas and eloped. I was still in school at the time, barely old enough, forced to marry Michael at the legal minimum age of 20. What did he mean? Forced? Olivia's voice was a whisper. So, Ian, you set that up? No wonder I kept running into him everywhere. I thought it was fate. Michael shot to his feet, face taut. That's enough. Don't say another word. But Olivia stood too, her eyes blazing. So you never even liked me. You chose someone who matched my type, just to lure me in. I don't owe you anything, and neither does the Zhao family. Shut up, Michael snapped, voice shaking, his usual commanding tone cracking into something fragile. But Olivia's voice was sharp, cold, unstoppable. And my sister? She definitely doesn't owe you anything. Michael's chest heaved violently, like someone had punched all the air out of him. He looked as if someone had ripped his armor off, exposing bare flesh under the sun, pale, fragile, gasping. That's right, Olivia said. She owes you nothing. The alliance between our families is fulfilled. The business deal is done. So if she wants to leave, what gives you the right to stop her? Her words, shockingly, left Michael speechless. This man, who always stood tall in the business world, now sat trembling, fists clenched, completely without a comeback. I won't allow it, he whispered, eyes red-rimmed. He glared at Olivia, wouldn't even look at me. I just won't. He'd called me childish before, but now, he looked more like a child than anyone, stubborn, petulant, refusing to let go. My sister, furious, stepped in front of me like a raging bull, ready to gore him with her horns. You think just because you have money, everyone has to orbit around you? My sister's a living, breathing person, not some puppet for you to control. Michael, play your power games at your company. Manipulate adults who know the stakes. But what gives you the right to torment a college girl? His lips parted, pale and speechless. And for a moment, I wanted to say, he didn't torment me. He just never looked at me, never touched me, never loved me. That was what hurt. But Olivia only got angrier. Look at how she's been living. Her bedroom door's been broken forever. You never even fixed it. You stomped on her divorce agreement like it was trash. Have you ever treated her like your wife? Ever been good to her? Caro's had it rough. She even had to ask me to buy her a phone SIM card behind your back. In that moment, my back went cold. Every hair on my body stood up. All I could think was, it's over. Chapter 9. Michael's already fragile expression froze. His pupils shrank sharply. He looked up. What did you say? I panicked and grabbed Olivia's arm. Please, 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 Don't say another word. Sis. Olivia gave me a confused glance, then looked at me like I was some pitiful child too cowardly to speak up. What? Is Mr. Song pretending to care now? She snapped. My little sister, everyone thinks she married rich to enjoy life. But when I asked her in Barcelona what she wanted, all she asked for was a phone SIM card. She looked so scared to ask for more. That's not what it was. I was shaking all over, not daring to look at Michael. The silence in the room dragged on long enough to start burning. Finally, Olivia frowned. What's wrong? What about the SIM card? Michael let out a short, humorless laugh. Nothing. His voice dropped, colder. I could feel it, his gaze scorching through me, burning like needles against my skin. Then, softly, it's all my fault, sister. I'm sorry. Just like that, all his anger vanished. He even called Olivia sister, even apologized. It was so out of character. Even Olivia faltered. Don't act like this. It's too fake. Michael nodded gently. Yes, all my fault. But, sister, my wife and I need to talk. Alone. Please. Give us a moment. Half persuasion, half pressure, he escorted Olivia out. The moment the door closed, I felt like my death sentence had been signed. Click. The sound of the lock was like a starting gun. I ran straight up the stairs, desperate to hide in his room. I swear, at first, I only wanted to lock the door. I didn't even think about the fact that his room also had a bed. But Michael was faster. Before I could shut the door, his hand slammed it open. He stepped in, shut it behind him, and locked it. Without a word, he stripped off the sweater he hadn't worn for long. Step by step, he cornered me to the edge of the bed. I was wrong. I cried. Too late. I won't divorce you anymore. I begged. After everything, anyone could see it now. He didn't see me as a replacement. He might even, like me. Maybe it was worth waiting. Worth reconsidering. Michael nodded. Don't even think about it. He pushed me down onto the bed, eyes locked on mine like a predator, kissing my neck in a storm of repressed jealousy. Hickeys. Huh? Calling me bro? Asking me to give my wife away? Real guts. Bro. He kissed me again and again, his long bottled-up jealousy spilling out, so thick it turned into frustration. Michael wasn't someone who showed emotion easily, so when he did, it came out all at once. Too much. Too raw. Only when he'd kissed me like he was trying to steal my very breath did he finally whisper, I never didn't love you. I was just scared that if I said it out loud, you'd tell me you didn't love me back. He held me tightly. I hesitated. Then, slowly, carefully, I reached out and hugged him back. And in that moment, his whole body trembled, like the bones in his spine had just come alive. After a long while, he whispered, Caro, can you say it again? That hubby, hug me line? I couldn't take it anymore. Get off. Naturally, Michael didn't get off. In fact, he got closer, way closer, super close. This time, no doorbells rang, no interruptions. I watched as he kissed all the spots I'd once faked hickeys on, kissing them in exactly the same places. Only now did I realize he must have looked at that photo again and again. So many times. He memorized it, branded it into his mind. The curtains swayed with the breeze. The sun set, then rose, bathed in morning light. Half awake, I lifted my eyes. On the corner of his desk, hidden, was the bag of cookies I thought I'd lost.